Alrighty, good afternoon, sir. My name is George. I'm a former Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army. Now I'm doing some video producing. Let me know your name and your organization. What is it you guys do?
My name is Kenny, and I'm with what we call the Clovis Flat Track Museum, Flat Track Racing Museum here in Clovis. That's tucked away on a street here, on the city block that kind of, a lot of people hadn't seen. Unless you drive by, you really don't know it's there. So we want to get the word out to people if we can. That we'd like to let them know we have an annual event, open house we call it. I'd call it a street party. The Clovis police come in and they shut off both ends of the street down, and people bring in their vehicles, cars, bikes, and hang out for the day. And we tell stories. We just do it. Kind of comes. Everybody kind of works together and wants to.
What day is this?
It'll be on the 17th of May, Sunday, from about 10 to about 3 o'clock. And like I said, it's just come in, first serve. There'll be food served, drinks, you can get. And anyway, the museum is, square footage is 30 by 40, 30 by 120. Kind of a T-shaped building with motorcycles and memorabilia and parts and, T-shirts, leather suits everybody used to race in, that are 100 years old. I mean, it covers everything in our sport.
So what is flat track sport?
It's basically motorcycle flat track is racing around a generally flat track, for 5 laps to 100 laps. You just, they line up probably at least a dozen riders and a green flag, away they go, and it's on. The guy that gets there first, of course, wins. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Has this sport evolved over time with gear, with the bikes, with the motors as they've gotten faster or better?
Yeah. It's evolution of 125 years, roughly, something like that. Yeah, ups and downs. Different eras, rules changing, motor sizes changing. But basically, the basics of it is just to race around that dirt track.
What's your favorite bike you've ever ridden?
I guess I have to say my Triumph, British Triumph. English-made Triumphs. They were made them up through the 70s, so that'd be my favorite.
How long you been riding?
We started 1972.
Oh wow!
So yeah, and back in those days there was a big scene around here with this kind of sport. And somewhere around the early 80s, it kind of, waned or slowed down, And what we know today is dirt bike or motocross kind of took over for what we were doing back then. But flat track still continued on and is still done today,
And what's special about this event? What do you love about the event so much as far as the community getting together?
Yeah, it brings people from everywhere. People come from out of town. Across the country maybe, just depends on where they are. And it brings a lot of local people out that we all grew up with. Most of us were high school to post-high school, and there's a lot of us still around because, we're 60s, 70s, 80s now. So that's the beauty of it. You'll see somebody you haven't seen in 20 or 30 years, So, or it's your friend you just were hanging out with. So that's kind of the beauty of it. And another part of the story is the couple that built it, or basically founded it on a dream of let's bring some motorcycles, build a little building, and start storing them, and have people come in once a year and enjoy it. He passed away about 10 years ago. And his wife and Donnie and myself and a few of us are still working with it and keeping it going. But it's a pretty solid place, and it's everything's still there. So we want to continue that, yearly open house, we call it.
Can you share anything of maybe you saw somebody show up there, they didn't even know the museum was there, and they had some profound experience or really loved it?
Oh yeah, we just we were just there and a fella showed up that saw the door open, stopped his car and walked over to us and said, "Hi, my name's," I believe his name was George, I don't remember, but he said, no, Chris, I'm sorry. He said, "Hey, what's going on here?" And so we sit and talk to him for half an hour. And he told us his life story, and we told him ours. So that kind of stuff happens, And I have to say to younger people, really kind of connect with the story, because our friend was a quadriplegic, and he was in a wheelchair and built it with a vision out of this wheelchair.
Wow.
With his wife and family and all of his friends and people that came along to donate $1, $20 or whatever,
What's the story behind that?
He had an accident when he was 20 years old in October 1978, fell off hiking up in the hills and broke his neck, and they got him out of there. He lived, pretty amazing he even did that. But once he came out of the hospital, his goal was to get a flat track motorcycle and take it to bike shows and have fun with people, So that's kind of where it started. And that was in 1979. So.
And the legacy lives on.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
Then he dreamed it up, and here it is, So
what kind of benefit does the community get out of this event?
I want to say some exposure, Clovis exposure to people coming from different places, maybe come from out of town, hadn't been there. The Clovis Police Department's involved. One year they called him up and said, "Hey, would you like us to come over and shut the road down and put some roadblocks up for your event?" Because we were having it anyway, and they said, "Well, okay, sure." So it's become kind of folklore in Clovis to some degree. And his family was born and raised around there. They go back to the teens or the 20s, his dad and mom and everybody. So.
Now, what would you say to a young family who's never been? They live in the Central Valley, Fresno, Clovis area. Maybe they do ride. Maybe they are into dirt bikes and ATVs and these wheeled vehicles. What would be your message?
Well, come out and see maybe a part of it you don't know about or you hadn't heard of, or just come and see what inspired so many people to be involved in it. It's very inspirational, I want to say. And then the story with him, having his accident and just sitting there saying, "Hey, Kenny, can you help me with that?" Or, "Donnie, can you help me with that?" And we'd go, yeah, we're just going to come do it. So I think people would really enjoy seeing it and hearing that story.
Yeah, it's not just some random building. You guys built this, or
Right.
it was built
Piece at
here.
a time, yeah. 30 by 40, 30 by 60, 30 by 60. With friends' help and labor donated, Anyway, it's a good story. That's what I have to say.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.